Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Caroline. And Caroline watched my last video where I mentioned doing a hair video, and she wanted to see it. And I've gotten a couple requests. People want the hair video. Now, I've talked about hair and narcissism and narcissistic abusers. How it's mostly with females, and it's predominantly, and not always, obviously, but predominantly in the black community. The black mother destroying, usually the queen bee, destroying their daughter's hair. And it's not only black women, but it happens predominantly in the black community. It happens in all communities, and I have said in the past that basically I was raised like a little black girl, where, I was told that I have what is known as N hair. I won't use the full word, and my N knots. And I can't tell you, if you've watched my channel for any period of time, you've heard the stories, especially from black women, of how they were literally tortured over their hair. The brushes and the chemicals and the pulling and the gnawing and the just ripping out of clumps of hair and being beaten with brushes and hair products and just being told you're ugly, and just such a source of pain and confusion and self-loathing that you hate your own hair. I've hated my hair since I was a child, because I was told there's nothing you could do with it. It's just a curly, nappy, frizzy pile of mess. So there's nothing you can do with it. And that's just how it is. And my brother had pin straight hair that was pointed out to me that he could always grow his hair and have his bob cuts or whatever, especially in the 90s, where you had kind of the short thing with your hair and all that. I was told I couldn't have, because I was conditioned from a child to hate my hair. And I wasn't allowed to go get my hair professionally done. I didn't start getting my hair cut from someone other than my mother, who would just absolutely fucking butcher it, until I was 17, was the first time I had gone on my own down to, it was called Shea Vincent's, but we used to just call him Ches, because he was, just this big Italian mook, and it would just be he was known as Ches. You go down to Ches Vincent's and get your hair cut. And that was the first time I started having my sides buzzed, and I would keep the top really, really kind of short, maybe a half inch, slick back with some gel. And that was the extent of what I could do with my hair. That was the extent. I had tried to grow it out a few times, and it would seem like it would get to a certain point, and it would just be just this puff. And there's nothing you could do with that. There's nothing you could do with that. Even though my mother has the exact same hair and I couldn't see it. I had, at one point in high school, had grown out the front and was able to use leave-in. I remember, and it all came back full circle. My mother had this leave-in conditioner she would use on her hair that would make my hair look fucking spectacular. It was the only thing that I could use that would make my hair look decent. It was leave-in conditioner. And she would hide it and freak out and wouldn't tell me where she got it, where it came from. And at that point, I didn't even think to go try to hunt it down and figure it out or buy it on my own. If it didn't come from them, it didn't exist, and I had no other way to get it. And she would try to keep this shit away from me, because she hated me having any kind of length on my hair, being able to do anything with my hair, to the point where I was like, fuck it. Right after high school, I ended up cutting all my hair off again. Okay. And then just keeping it short. And then, but basically by 1997, from 1997 until the beginning of the pandemic, I had the same haircut. Just shaved, kind of pushed front a little bit up top, no more than like a quarter to a half an inch on top, kind of pushed forward. That was it. That's all I thought I could do with my hair. That's all I thought I had with it. So during the pandemic, or right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was on one of my chat programs and somebody said, like, made a comment, because you remember I always wore beanies. I just wore beanie caps over my head for 10, 12 years. I walked around with a beanie cap. South Florida, dead of summer, I had a beanie cap on. Didn't matter. The heat didn't bother me. The beanie cap heat didn't bother me. So, start of the pandemic, somebody makes a comment to me about me being bald. And I'm like, I'm not bald. I'm like, quite the opposite. And at that point, you couldn't get your hair cut. This was like March, this is April, May. So I hadn't been able to get my hair cut. So it was longer than it used to be. I'm like, and I pulled my beanie. I'm like, look, see? Like, nah, I still think it's bald. I still think you're going bald. I'm like, no, I will grow and at that point, I made the decision to just fuck it and let it grow. And because I finally said fuck it and let it grow and made it past that point, that awkward point of where nothing looks good, you can't do anything but cover it. And once I was able to get it to a point where I could pull it back into the man bun, then we had something. Then I kind of had something. And my goal was to let it keep growing with the undercut, keep it undercut, because if I didn't undercut it, this thing would be out to here. It would be like my mother, just this giant freaking afro coming at you. It would be all head. So, but I like it up in the bun. I still like my man bun for two reasons. A, I like how it looks, and B, is the best undercover device I've ever had, where these liberals and commies will talk openly in front of me because they just assume because I have a man bun, I'm one of them. I told you the story when I was at the bank, and this liberal boomer woman comes in, and and they told her, this was right after they said, you don't have to mask anymore, you don't need that shit anymore. And the teller told her, you don't need masks anymore in here. And all the tellers, all the Wells Fargo staff were black, mostly Haitian. I think there was a couple Latinos working there, but 100% minority. I'm at the teller here. It's me here. This liberal white woman, okay, and the rest are all minorities. The teller she was coming up to tells you don't need the mask anymore. She looks around. She looks at me. She looks at everyone else. She's like, no, that's fine. I'll keep it on. I don't want anybody thinking I'm a Republican. And I just like, really? In my head, and I look at her just like this. I'm like, I'm a Republican. And she looked at me and she kept looking up at the bun. With this, how dare you wear that bun? How dare you wear, because I thought I was among friends. And I've told this story. I told her what a racist she is. I'm like, you just walked in here and assumed me and my man bun and all these minorities just on plain sight think exactly the way you do. Who's the real racist here? With your boomer money, coming here acting like you're on. Oh, she was so upset. She did not know what to say. And that's right. There was another guy, another white guy standing behind her, tow truck driver. I know that because his tow truck was outside. And he's standing behind her just like, yup. And I said, I'm like, you just assume me and my man bun and all these minorities all just vote the same way. Okay. And like, you know what? You might be right. I don't know how they voted, but I'm sure as hell not just going to assume by looking at them how they vote. So it's a nice undercover thing because The liberal, the commie, they will tell you exactly what they think if they think you're one of them. And these hairs are starting to get a little wild. So, and I can't tell you, I've had other people on my channel who have had the same issues with hair. Their hair was used as some kind of weapon against them. And then once they kind of got away and went no contact and got clarity and kind of worked with their own hair, with that clarity, they become to love their hair. They realize that their hair was one of their strengths that was used against them to hold them back. This is something that happens with black females all the time. That their hair is over-processed, twisted, pulled, you're beaten with combs and brushes and God knows what, told how ugly you are because of your hair, and nobody will want you because of your hair. So they keep going, and they go and they start putting wigs and start putting other people's hair in their head just to make you hate yourself, to hate what you have genetically, naturally growing out of you. And there's no reason for it. And a lot of times women do, especially black women, do a lot of permanent damage to their heads by wearing those glue caps and the pulling their hair back so tight where they start losing their hair and it doesn't start coming back. And they get the chemical burns from those relaxers and straighteners and all that. Products I've used that do nothing but just damage your hair. Make it brittle, make you hate yourself, make you spend money that you don't need to spend. You'd be surprised how good just when you take a shower, leaving what I use is mane and tail, which is basically used on horse hair, on horse tails and horse manes, but it works great. First thing I do is, if my hair's dirty, I wash it, but I always condition it. And you load up my hair with conditioner and I let it sit there, do everything else you need to do in the shower with a head full of conditioner, and then you wash it out. Okay? And then you go, and then when you get out, you do what you got to do, you get dressed, and when you're ready to do your hair, you dry it. I like to towel dry it, and then it's leave-in conditioner. And I just make sure you put that leave-in conditioner in your hair. And that's what gets it to hold and to do some natural stuff and move. Yeah, you still, look, people like me, you still got to worry about frizz. You can't touch it that much. Anytime you got curly hair and you touch it, it makes it frizzier. It's kind of hard to do. Keeping it out your mouth is another one. But, it's a trade-off. So I have learned to appreciate my hair. I have learned to like my hair. I've learned to realize my hair is my hair is something I thought I had to hide for a very, very, very long time, right up until the pandemic. I was doing this channel, still trying to hide my hair. Still not sure what I want to do with it completely. I may want to do some moderate sized dreads and do a dread bun. Because that's something white boys can do now. We can do white boy dread buns. It might be fun. I don't know, but I have a lot of options, as do you. And I've talked to so many of you where hair has been an issue. You've been beaten over it. You've been made fun over it. You've been put in physical pain over it. Have clumps of it ripped out of your head, been told you're ugly and you're not good enough and you'll never have the hair. You never have the hair that I have, or you never have the hair so-and-so has. I'm so lucky I have beautiful hair and you got this, this nappy bee's nest. This nappy rat's nest or whatever it is that you've been called, your hair's been called, or what's been called on top of your head. You gotta learn to love your own self. You gotta learn to love your hair. Okay? Because remember something, the narcissist always attacks your strength. So if you're being attacked over your hair, you should really ask yourself why that is. Because when you've been attacked over your hair, you hate it. You hate it until you see otherwise. Until you could see for what it actually is, you hate your own hair and you don't even think to question it. Even if you understand narcissism, even if you understand your abuse, you still haven't made the connection. Well, wait a minute. They were lying to me about my hair too, weren't they? Why? Because most of the times they're jealous. And that is a real scarlet letter to hang on you, to really fuck with your self-confidence and your self-esteem if you think there's something fundamentally wrong with your hair. Because there's not much you can do to change it, except put a bunch of damaging chemicals on your head that damages your hair and makes you go bald. I mean, for a woman to go bald like that, it's gotta be terrible. Gotta be terrible. Now, you think I'm going bald, by the way, sometimes the shower looks when I get out of it, but no, I just got a weird widow's peak. I just got a lot of hair that comes out, a lot of hair babies being pulled out of the drain. Charlene likes to show me those, but I'm insisting they have to be her hair, not mine. It looks like my parents' house when I was like, it was my mother's, the hair monsters that used to get pulled out of that drain, my mother's drain, with her hair, because her hair was even thicker than mine. So crazy. So that's my hair video, people. Share your hair stories in the comments section below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much to Caroline for sponsoring the video. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you to everybody who's watching. And if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care, everybody.